Hi everyone, Justin here. I hope everyone is well. As you can see, I'm in a different location. I am working from Sri Lanka. I'm very fortunate that in our business we have teams throughout the Middle East and Asia. And for me, Sri Lanka is a great base for me to be. It's 1.5 hour time difference from Dubai. It's 2.5 hour time difference from Riyadh. It's 2.5 hour time difference from Singapore and Hong Kong as well. And not only that, but it's 52 degrees where I live in Dubai right now. I have 3 small children, so we can actually move back to Sri Lanka where we've got a house, live a lovely outdoors life, and I can work as I would in Dubai. That is one of the benefits of running a business where you have a great leadership team and you have efficient systems and tools where you can run a remote business. Now, what I thought I'd do in this video is I'd talk to you about just being an authority in your subject. Because one of the things that I think a lot of people really miss a trick on is actually being the authority when it comes to their niche and their subject. Now, when I worked in marketing communications, I spent 7-8 years actually teaching people how to become the experts in their field, so that if anything happened, if any news needed a comment, if there was a situation going on within their vertical, that they had a spokesperson ready to comment on that subject. That therefore made them the authority in that particular field. Now, when I started in recruitment, remember I came from communications into recruitment, I adopted that exact same attitude. I chose my niche, of course, was the marketing, communications, creative world. That was the world I'd come from. That was the world I went to recruit in. So what I tried to do immediately was produce content, was to try and give off advice, was try and get myself seen and heard in the press, where I would come across as the go-to person in that subject. Now, I did that in London, first of all, and that was quite competitive, but actually in the 18 months that I did that, I still managed to command a voice in that subject. Then when I moved to Dubai, where it was a far less competitive market, there was a huge opportunity to jump in and not only be a voice in the space, but to actually own the space. So what I've done is I've really made sure that our business, that what we do, is always seen and heard within our particular niche field. That goes for the Middle East and for Asia. Now you might think, God, they're huge regions. But what we did very early on was we identified and targeted publications that will be completely relevant to our audience. So in the Middle East, for marketing communications, we went for things like Campaign. We went for Communicate. In Asia, there's obviously a Campaign there in both Hong Kong and in Singapore. We identified particular publications, particular businesses that we could partner with, who had a huge audience that we could leverage off as well. So to give you an example, the sort of stuff I did very early on was I contributed to thought pieces. I made sure that with the data that we were collecting from our business, I made sure that I was sharing that with B2B publications. I made sure always that when there was something to be said in our subject, that I was available for comment. I produced video very early on in the days. Back in the days, I was producing video on LinkedIn. We did a webcast back in 2016 talking about how easy and difficult it is to relocate to the Middle East. Now back then the technology was completely different. We had a spokesperson from a leading advertising agency. We had a head of talent from another advertising agency. We had an agency owner from another a small to medium-sized agency owner, and we had the CEO of the largest communications company in the Middle East on the same panel, all on a streamed broadcast. And we did this back in 2016. That's because I knew it was absolutely important to leverage yourself as the expert in that subject. These days, of course, there's many ways you can do it. You can do videos as I'm doing now. Another really good way, and I would recommend everyone does this, is you produce content daily that just goes to demonstrate that you are that person. Anyone that follows me on LinkedIn will see daily I'm producing stuff. Now, what I try and do is I talk about something personal, I talk about something work related, and I also now talk about something what life is like as an entrepreneur because of the mentoring that I'm doing. But if you can develop yourself as a key person of influence, again, you just become a spokesperson within that vertical. And you by proxy being the key person of influence means that your brand and your business becomes the key influence in that market. So over the years, you'll see me taking part in podcast conversations. We've hosted events, we host webinars, we're now doing LinkedIn Lives. I'm very pleased to say that I have my own podcast show coming. Now, the podcast show actually has been the last thing that I've done, and I wouldn't recommend people do that. I actually procrastinated for quite some time about the podcast show, which is very unlike me, and that's because I was a guest on so many shows. I actually just delayed things. And also, if I'm being completely honest with you, the reason I delayed things as well is I was being really, really fussy about what the logo should look like, the people I should get on, and that goes against all the advice that I give people. You just need to get stuck in. When you actually, when you develop an idea, just run with it and you learn as you go. So my podcast, which is going to be called Beyond the Business Card, will soon be out. And in that, I'm going to talk about what life is like as an entrepreneur, what life is like within business. I'm going to share my struggles and listen to other people who've built, sold, run, are in charge of really interesting businesses, both in the Middle East and in Asia, and maybe even internationally as well, and get a really good sense of how they got to where they were and just what and the mindset they've got to be successful. But I'm doing all this because it further helps advance what I want to do, and that is be an authoritative voice, not only within marketing, communications, recruitment, but now within entrepreneurism and specifically within recruitment, okay? Because I think mindset's such a big thing to do with that. But I digress. What I'm saying here is you have to be a key person of influence. Your brand has to be the authority in a subject. Now, something that we do at the moment is we organize, we have monthly webinars where we talk about salaries. So we have a salary survey, we talk about what the findings are, we regularly talk to candidates, we invite people in, we invite credible spokespeople in to talk about particular subjects. Them by association and us by association with them helps to emphasize what an authority we are. And we do these monthly. Now, on top of doing those monthly, we also run a campaign. Now, what I mean by a campaign is we did one recently about employee value proposition. We've done one about salary surveys. We're doing one about what the creative work in the Middle East right now is like. We're doing one about what the creative work in the Asia Pacific region is like. We're doing one with a really talented headhunter and combined with our head of Asia, talking about what the recruitment market is like in Asia at the moment. We are therefore feeding information to an audience who are hungry to learn and hungry to understand what's going on. Why is this so important? Well, because we're regularly producing this content, our SEO is obviously going to be very good when people search for us to be the experts in a certain subject, because we've regularly got fresh content out there. We're constantly referred people, and when clients want to hire or when people want to open up in our region, we are often the first people they think about because we are often top of mind. All of that stuff, all of that regular media information makes us really an authority in that subject. I actually think today as a business, you need to be half media company, half business, okay? And what I mean by that is if you're regularly producing content, if you're regularly being the voice in your subject, if you're regularly offering free advice to people, then really you're a media producer, okay? And if you're a media producer, it's the best advertising going. You're going to be the person, you're going to be the go-to in that area. And what also happens is you get monetization opportunities on the back of it as well. Honestly, we've been offered sponsorship opportunities, we've been offered opportunities for partnerships just because we're seen as the voice in a certain subject. Being the authority, focus down on being the authority and you will win in this game. A little trick that I discussed with one of the people I'm mentoring today was putting together a LinkedIn group, forming a LinkedIn group of just the candidates that he wants to use to place with his particular clients in Dubai. I said, why not put together a LinkedIn group and start putting all those candidates, all the best, all the main players, all the interesting people in, say in Dubai, into that group. Okay, once you've got them into that group, you can arrange a meetup. Once you've arranged a meetup, then everyone gets to know who you are. What happens is they start referring you. That group starts to swell. That group starts to grow. You own that group. That group becomes powerful. That group becomes the niche in that subject. You can then get spokespeople in. You can then find out what those people are interested in. You can then arrange various events that only that group are focused in on. And that group is completely aligned to your niche. You are creating stuff then that is bespoke, that is actually completely focused on what you're an expert at. Who are they going to come to when they need a vacancy? Who are they going to come to when they need a job? They're going to go to you. I'm super passionate about this. Our business is a forward-thinking, business that runs on a hybrid model. We have offshore, we have onshore, but we are in a marketing-led recruitment company. We hugely believe in promoting our brand. In my mentoring program, I hugely believe in promoting what I do because I want to get this message out to as many people as possible. I want everyone who runs a boutique recruitment business to have 7 figures, to be able to scale to 7 figures. And by sharing all this advice, you'll get there. And if you're running your recruitment business now, honestly, take what I've said on board. Go as niche as you possibly can. Become the authority. Start doing things that's going to separate you from the rest. Okay? Now I look forward to sharing more content with you, and thanks for joining me here in sunny Sri Lanka.